back here at the library auditorium. 5 years ago, my quartet, the Heartland Marimba Quartet, played up here, and we had 4 marimbas on stage. So it's feeling nice and luxurious with the space today. So this is just a collection of preludes, a little appetizer tray of preludes for you that I like to perform. it's one of my favorite things to do, and also one of the scariest things to do in my life. You know, I think probably if I took up some like hang gliding or something, I might be more relaxed. But the last piece there was actually written by a marimbist for the marimba. So obviously Bach did not write for the marimba, and Shostakovich either. But I'm also a fanatic for fugues and contrapuntal music like that from that era. So all the preludes and fugues by Bach, Shostakovich, Hindemith. If you guys are anybody's pianists in here or musicians, I'm sure you've heard of a lot of these pieces and composers. But I really enjoy taking the marimba and trying to create that multi-voice world, multi-texture world with the instrument, like pianists do all the time with their music. And so the last piece by Kevin Romansky there, the prelude number 20, he obviously has written several preludes, and this one, actually I believe that was the world premiere of that piece. Yeah, so he passed that on to me and a few others and said, he asked me if I would premiere them for him. So I'm getting started on that. So, all right, so I'm going to change it up now and play tango for you. So we're just going to clear the air and do something completely different here. So this is called the Libre Tango, Variations for Marimba by Eric Samu. familiar with Piazzolla, then you have heard that style, I'm sure, Libertango. And this is kind of an adaptation and reimagining of a lot of that style of music on this as a solo piece for this instrument. We do a lot of rhythmic, interlocking, moto perpetuo kind of stuff, coming from the background as a percussionist. That's really core to my soul as a musician. And the instrument is a unique instrument. And if you guys have questions at the end, I'm happy to take some questions. I believe we did that last time, and of course, if you have to go at the end, that's cool too. We can just hang and chat for a while. But yeah, the instrument is unique in that the sustain is what the bars give us. So when we strike the bar, it vibrates, and it works with the resonators, which are the big tubes under the bottom that are tuned to the same pitch as the bar, and all that works together along with the acoustic in the room to give you the beautiful, warm, sound that you're hearing. Of course, the mallets are involved and the artist, but we end up doing a lot of rhythmic, intricate kind of things to mimic a lot of different kinds of sustain, I guess, is to make it more orchestral sounding. And so I am going to demonstrate, or I'm going to perform now, a piece called La Plus Quelon, which is by Debussy, and he originally wrote this for piano. There's an orchestral version. I think there's piano and violin version. So I created this during the pandemic. So this is a project. I love doing these adaptations on the marimba and drawing from the different versions. So I actually had the piano version and the orchestral version in front of me, and I was kind of pulling little bits and pieces from each one. So this piece is truly now what I like to call a marimba piece that Debussy didn't know he wrote. Because I've taken it and turned it wholly inside and out marimba, marimbistic. So you're going to see all kinds of tremolo and textural usage of fast, rapid notes and softer mallets here. So hopefully all that will come through, all the different colors. So this is La Plus Quelon by Debussy. next up, I'm going to do another little collection for you. This time, maybe this is like the dessert tray, or no, it's a pre-dessert, a mouche-bouche. So one of the things that I try to do more and more, especially now I have a new position as the executive director and curator for the Center for Mallet Percussion Research at Kutztown University in Kutztown, Pennsylvania. So there's actually a facility in the world that's a museum, concert space, research facility, recording venue, all those things, rolled up into one that is solely to support this art form of mallet percussion. And there's about a 120-year history, 110 to 20 years of classical music history for these instruments. This instrument goes back more than 2,000 years to Africa and Asia. And through slave trading into Central America, about 500 years ago, there's the traditional Guatemalan marimbas, of course, that many of you may have heard, especially if you've traveled down to Mexico or Oaxaca and further south into Belize or Guatemala or Costa Rica. And then about the turn of the century, 1900, those instruments actually made their way to Chicago, and that's when we get this kind of movement from percussion industry producers, manufacturers, and artists to create the classical forms of the marimba, and the vibraphone was already kind of getting started in a version of itself in terms of metal glockenspiel type instruments, and the xylophone was coming to us from Europe as a straw fiddle through orchestra music or through more traditional music at that time, and then eventually through some orchestra music. So that's what we research, we display, we support all of these history. It's really kind of a unique and rich history. We have more than 60 vintage instruments at our facility. So next up, I'm going to do a collection for you that's kind of related to this. The first two pieces are traditional Guatemalan marimba music, adapted for solo player. Usually in Guatemalan marimba playing, there are more than one player, so there will be anywhere from 3 to 6 players on 1 or 2 instruments, and they share one instrument. But in this case, these are done with solo player. And then and the other kind of hook here or twist is that they were collected by Vida Chenoweth, and she's one of our early concerto soloists. In 1956 and 58, she premiered 2 marimba concertos, the second and third marimba concertos in existence. So you can see how young it is in terms of classical music, but there's this dichotomy with a very ancient background. And then I'm going to continue with Florence Price, Ticklet Toes, which is originally a piano tune. And then a piece that was written for me by Jenny Brandon. And she's my partner with the Heartland Marimba organization. She's my co-artistic director. Jenny Brandon, the composer on that last piece, she is actually in Long Beach, and I was spending the last couple of days with her. She couldn't be here because she's music directing a musical at USC, on campus at USC, and writing another musical for them. So she's a busy composer and really inspiring artist. That leads me to my little encouragement to continue to follow the marimba art form, and especially Heartland Marimba, which is my organization, and Jenny and I work together at that organization. We have lots of great things planned to come. We even do virtual wine tastings. If you are enjoying tonight's concert and you're a wine lover, we put them together in one. So typically we're in person for those in the Twin Cities, but it's a virtual option as well, and folks around the country can join. And it's Opalo Vineyards, which maybe some of you are familiar, is a California vineyard. And the last piece is another tango called Por una Cabeza. And the story kind of goes that the title means by a head, which is a reference to horse racing. So when a horse wins by the width of its head, this is a phrase that they use. And in the piece, there's kind of like this push and pull, this one character who's he's betting on a horse, and his horse isn't doing very well, and he's trying to catch the eye of a woman that he's interested in, and she's not paying attention. It's just not a good night for him. So, but it's one of my favorite tangos out there, and so I did an adaptation of it. So thank you again, and we can do some questions afterwards for those that are interested. Also, you can come up and look at the marimba.